Hello? Hello?
Yeah, Russ, we're almost getting underway here.
Oh, okay. I thought maybe I'd lost the feed. Okay.
Can we make sure we join the meeting, please?
Yes, I will.
Russ, do we have you online?
Yes, you do.
Dawn, do we have you online?
Yes.
And Diane, do we have you online?
Yes, I'm joined.
So I'm going to call our meeting to order of November the 7th of the Sunrise School Division Board of Trustees at 7:03. Thank you very much. We're going to have O Canada by Carl Bozier Early Years School. Please stand if you can do so. Merci d'école Bozier Early Years. We're going to have our treaty acknowledgement. I'm going to ask Trustee Boytson to read out our treaty acknowledgement.
We acknowledge the traditional land upon which Sunrise School Division resides as Treaty 1 territory. We honor our partnership with Canada's original peoples and respect the gifts of Indigenous history, culture, and language. We commit to moving forward in partnership with our communities in a spirit of collaboration and reconciliation.
Thank you, Trustee Boytson. Before we move on with the formal adoption of our agenda, I do summon the board on behalf of the Board of Trustees. We'd like to recognize two people, unfortunately, that have passed away in Sunrise School Division. Lucy LaValle, on October the 9th, 17th, from École Dugald School, was a retired library technician, and she passed away. And then yesterday, November the 6th, Shannon Newstater, the assistant principal at Oakbank Elementary, passed away. Again, on behalf of the Sunrise School Division Board of Trustees and to their families and their colleagues, we certainly would like to acknowledge the work that you've done with us. We're going to share a moment of silence for them, please. Thank you. I'd like to have the adoption of the agenda, please. Be it resolved that the board approve our agenda. I need a mover and a seconder. Moved by trustee Dent, seconded by trustee Boytson. Any questions to the agenda? Hearing none, we'll vote. And it passed 8-0 with one of our trustees not here. I should introduce everybody that is here tonight. We have trustee Rowan, we have trustee Boytson, we have trustee Dent, we have trustee Harris and myself. Online we have trustee Nickel, we have trustee Reed, and we have trustee Rowland. Trustee Smith is not able to be here tonight. As well in the room, we have Assistant Superintendent Fieldberg, Secretary Treasurer Thiessen, Superintendent Timko. We have the Executive Assistant, Stacy Bonato. We have the administration here from Beaulieu Early Years. We have Mike and Kayla. Welcome, Mike. And we also have Mr. Trevor Reed, our current division principal, and on April the 1st, the future superintendent with us. So welcome to all of you that are here. Chair's comments. I can tell you that it's never easy opening up a meeting in the situation as to what transpired certainly over the past I guess 24 hours, and again my comments to the staff at Oakbank Elementary and to Springfield Middle Schools, and to all the people that worked very hard to support our kids and our families. You know, I thank you for the work that you continue to go ahead and do, and to continue the support that we need to go ahead and support those families and those staff members and those children at those schools. A reminder that if you have any questions, send the questions to jody.thiessen@sunrisesd.ca. All the names and addresses of the senders to be included in the email, and we'll try to answer your questions later on. I'll certainly open up the floor to somebody to share a story. I need to stop talking. Trustee Rowan.
In recognition of the loss of Shannon Newstatter at OBE, a group of parents organized through the Playground Committee has arranged to have lunch delivered to the school for the staff for the remainder of the week. On a happier note, SCI is having their first PAC meeting of this year. I think it's their first one in the last, well, since before COVID actually. Their meeting will be held November 15th at 6:30. They're looking forward to starting up, and if you have a student at SCI, they'd love to see you there.
Thanks, Melissa. Anyone else? Trustee Boytson.
Also, Hazelridge School PAC is up and running. They're looking forward to attending. I'm looking forward to attending the first meeting of the school year, Wednesday on November 29th at 6:30. I'm sure the PAC would welcome anyone interested in being a part of this advisory council. And another thing, I just want to send kudos to the finance department and all those who stepped up to support this department through all the challenges over the past number of months. The special meeting with Wayne Luscombe, MNP, provided trustees the opportunity to ask questions, resulting in the acceptance of the draft audited financial statements for the division. Thank you to all those involved for persevering through these high-pressure, deadline-oriented, challenging times. All your hard work has not gone unnoticed and is greatly appreciated. Thanks, Jody, for your team.
Thanks, Lorraine. Anyone else? Trustee Dent.
Yeah, I just wanted to thank the Springfield Ag Society for inviting me out on Saturday night for dinner at the Dugald Community Center. So I brought greetings on behalf of the board. So we had a great meal, and we had lots of dignitaries there. The MLA was there, as well as the good contingents of the Springfield Reeve and counselors were there. So yeah, it was a great night. So I appreciate that, and thank you very much for those folks for hosting me.
Thanks, Dustin. Trustee Harris.
I had the honor to attend Ecole Beaulieu Early Years PAC meeting last night. they would certainly welcome new members at their next meeting to be held December 4th. I'd like to see everyone out in attendance.
Thanks, Robin. Anyone else?
Paul?
Online, go ahead.
Sorry. Trustee Rowland here. I just would like to congratulate Springfield Collegiate football team for bringing home the banner last week. It was a very challenging year, and they developed incredibly well over the season thanks to good coaching and teammates, and they brought home the banner. And I would also like to, again, just recognize former community member Ace Burpee on his following up on a commitment he had made a year ago regarding his birthday. And he celebrated his birthday with the Dugald students by providing a chicken and french fry snack from our local chicken chef for every student at school to help him celebrate his birthday, October 5th. And what a great community member he is. Thank you.
Thanks, Diane. Anyone else online? Okay, Kath.
Just wanted to give a shout out to all those schools because when we come through Halloween week, there's a lot of Spirit Week activities and a lot of team building on the go. But there's also a lot of groups that do some collecting food for food banks and the We Scare Hunger. So just a shout out to everybody who took a little bit of a serious take on that and helped out some of our food banks in the neighborhoods.
Anyone else? Did I miss anybody? No. All right, Kath, we're going to our delegation, and so I'm going to give you the floor.
Thanks, and welcome to Mike Carter and to Kayla Breitsprecher, who are going to come and talk to us about École Beauséjour Early Years School, and they have some handouts for you and extra presentation materials, and they are going to lock you in on their presentation, so I'll stop talking and you can have the floor.
Thank you, everyone. Just want to start by thank you all for this opportunity. It's always a pleasure to come out and talk about the wonderful things that are going on in our school. I am Michael Carter. I'm the principal at École Beauséjour Early Years School, and beside me is Kayla Breitsprecher, assistant principal. What I want to share with you today is focused on the school goal. So I want to share with you what is our school goal for this year, and then go into what's the rationale behind that goal. What's the data that's driving that decision to make that our focus this year. I want to go over some of the strategies we're putting in place, as well as the progress to date. And although it is early in the school year still, there is many things to talk about and progress that has been made at this point. And lastly, obviously open up the floor to questions. Our school goal for this year. I've actually updated even some of the wording from what you have on the slideshow, because as we look at what's on the slide this week, realize that there are things that have changed. And so one of the things with our school goal, it is something that does change as we move forward and as we learn and respond to the needs of our students. So the goal is, through the implementation of a comprehensive and responsive literacy program in both languages, as we are immersion, all students will demonstrate growth in reading and writing as evidenced by provincial report card and divisionally supported assessment tools. It's a bit wordy. The rationale behind this, or the meaning behind this, when we talk about comprehensive, our goal is to meet the needs of all of our learners, and there is no one way to meet the needs of all of our learners. So we need to make sure that we're implementing comprehensive programming in every one of our classrooms, and it needs to be responsive in nature. We need to continue to track our students' progress, know our learners, know their needs, and adjust our practice to meet those needs. And we are a dual-track school. We have French immersion and English programming. We need to look at literacy through both the lens of both of those languages. And then data collect. We have to be collecting data on a daily basis in the classrooms. We need to be collecting data school-wide to drive our decisions, so we know where our successes lie and where our challenges are, and use that data to inform decision-making. So some of the rationale. So we have spent the last few years focused on literacy at the school. One of the things that's come out of this focus is we have gotten very good at collecting data and utilizing data as a school to inform decision-making. We've been using that data for a number of years, and we continue to build on it. So what is in front of you in that package is actually the data we collected from last school year. Those are some of the school-wide literacy assessments that we use. That is a snapshot of our school-wide data. At the school, we also have that broken down into grade level for throughout the school and right down to classroom if needed. This year we've expanded on that again, and we've actually created new tools to make it more efficient for our teachers to be inputting that data and for us to be collecting that data in a way that is usable. If we look at that data, you will see that in almost every area you will see growth throughout the school year. From term 1 to term 3, there is growth. And while it's not necessarily shown there in the data we've collected, it's very clear that where we see the least amount of growth, and while there is growth, there is a challenge still, is meeting the needs of our, we'll call them struggling learners. How are we as a school meeting the needs of all of our students, especially those struggling learners? And as a school, we have seen that the struggling learners we are working with and those needs are ever increasing. So how do we meet that challenge? And that is part of our goal this year, is looking at specifically how are we meeting those needs, knowing that those needs are increasing, and that the data shows that that's an area we need to focus on further. Second part of that is making sure that we have comprehensive responsive programming in every classroom and working with our teachers to develop that. And how are we onboarding new staff so that we have new staff being able to implement those pieces and have those support systems in place so that they can be successful. So those are two areas we saw from the data last year as sort of the rationale to continue with this goal for this year. We have three main strategies that we have put into the school plan this year to improve upon literacy. One of them is making sure that we provide the resources that teachers need and the materials that students need. So making sure that every classroom has text available to students that is at appropriate levels, but also high interest. So we're engaging those learners, making sure that we have programs in place and accessible for teachers to access for assessment and for programming. Last year, a significant portion of our SBDM dollars, pretty much all the SBDM dollars, went towards this plan. That is the plan again for this year. We are looking at using our school-based decision-making money to support literacy instruction. At this point in time, that is our focus as a school, and that's where we are putting much of our dollars to ensure we have those pieces in place. Second piece of this is literacy interventions. This is focusing on the struggling learners. How are we working with our students that are demonstrating those struggles? And this is an area that we continue to work on and continue to develop. In a moment, I'll give you some details of what progress we've made in that area. And lastly is how are we developing that comprehensive responsive literacy instruction in each of our classrooms? And we'll go into some of those details here in a moment, and Kayla will share some of those pieces that we've implemented to date. So progress. It is as of November 7th. So we are early on in stages still in the school year, but even at this point, a lot of progress is made, and we've put plans in place that we are continuing to implement through the school year. First one is spending. So as I mentioned already, SBDM dollars are the dollars being spent on literacy. That is only a small portion of it because we're also pulling in other dollars where available to support that. So we're looking at upwards of $32,000 spent on literacy for the school year. That is for resources for teachers, that is for text for students, that is in some cases technology to help support access to text. And we're focused on buying those materials to support instruction, as I said, and including new items like UFly, which Kayla will talk about in a minute, and developing further that comprehensive approach. Literacy interventions. We have a two-tiered approach to our literacy interventions. So as a school, we implement reading recovery as an intervention strategy. That's one-to-one support. That is focused on our weakest readers in grade 1, and it's very specific to grade 1. We see the need, though, that we have a number of kids that could do with additional support. So we also have small group intervention. This is where one of our learning support teachers is working with 3-4 kids in a small group focused on intervention strategy. And that is working on the other grades, so grades 2 to 5 predominantly. Based on the data, we know that our starting point this year was actually with grade 3s because we saw the need for it in our grade 3s as a starting point this year. And we have small group instruction already started at that level. And then lastly is our comprehensive and responsive literacy instructions. We're talking about what we're doing in the classrooms every day, and I'll turn it over to Kayla to share some of those pieces.
So over the past year and a half, Mike and I have worked really hard at creating consistency across our grade levels, K to 5, on what resources we want to be expectations and what kind of resources are going to be invitations within our staff. We found that we were really good at some things, but everyone else was doing other things, so we just wanted to create a plan that everyone could have and that we gave to our staff at the beginning of this year, that these are what our literacy goals and plans are for our school. So if you look on the far left, there are the reading and writing continuums. So those are divisional resources that our school K to 5, English and French are all using. So it's a great tool because it not only doesn't push kids along too quickly, but it also gives a really good kind of snapshot on how you can form your next steps for each kind of cluster of kids you have in your class. So whether it's your kiddos that are really, really high and excelling, or if you're kids that are really, really struggling, it doesn't push them along too fast throughout the year. So it really, really focuses their learning. The one in the middle there, it's UFly. So that is a new resource that 2 schools in our division are piloting right now in kindergarten. So we also have some really, really excited grade 1 and grade 2 teachers that have been implementing this in the classroom. So what this is, it helps teachers explicitly teach phonics. So the letter sounds, the blends, how to bring words together, not focusing on, an A is an A, but an A makes an A sound. So building those skills for those students. So I was fortunate enough when I was doing some of my track 1 observations, I think last week, I went into one of our classrooms and the teacher was implementing a UFI lesson, and it was really, really cool to just watch just how laid out it is and how seamlessly it kind of flows through for those students. In the bottom right corner, we have our Words Their Way inventory. So how we use this at our school is we take the information we gain from the assessment to inform what our students need to work on in their word study portion of their comprehensive literacy lessons. So whether it's, blends or it's beginning consonants, this assessment tool will allow teachers to kind of get that understanding of their students. And as Mike kind of mentioned too, like I'm a firm believer in trying to get as much French immersion resources that we possibly can in our school. It's hard because French resources aren't that plentiful. We did come across this at the very top of the last picture there. It's called Pratique phonemique. So it is a Heggerty's program, so teaching those kind of the beginning sounds and the blends and how to bring words together, but it's teaching it in French. So this is the first time in my kind of 16 years I've seen a program like this. So we're doing this in our maternelle class and our grade 1 and 2 classes expectations to kind of get that information to see how the kids are doing.
And so that brings us to the last slide, which is the questions. So do you have any questions for us?
Thanks, Mike. Thanks, Kayla. Questions from anyone? Trustee Boyton?
It almost sounds like we're going back to when we were in school, the sounding of the words, which I often wondered where that went, and now it seems to be coming back. Just a question, so you spent some money for all these resources, and I'm just curious to know if you feel comfortable now that you've got the resources that you need to achieve your goals.
Good question. In some areas, the answer is yes, and we still have deficits in other areas. One of the things we're looking at, we have an expanding population in Beausejour. So on top of this, we are also adding new classrooms. We have a new kindergarten classroom we've added this year. So it's an ever going problem to make sure that we have those pieces in place. So it's something we have to assess every single year. Part of our plan for the last few years was making sure we have a certain level in every classroom, like a certain amount of resources in every classroom, or at least shared between classrooms that teachers can access. We're not there yet. There's that. We have holes still. I would like to see in our older classrooms, so our grade 4s and 5s, more text that's high interest, but at a reading level that kids can access. We want to make sure that we have all the books available for guided reading programs in every classroom. We want to make sure we have French resources for our kids to access. We've made some leaps and bounds and we made lots of progress in those areas, but there is still work to do. So it is an ongoing item. So even as we move away to a different goal down the road that might not be literacy, that is something that has to be on the forefront, because if you don't pay attention to it, it becomes a big expenditure suddenly to catch up again. We want to set a standard, meet that standard, and then look at it from year to year. How much money are we spending to hold that standard in every classroom?
Anyone else? Mr. Harris?
I really like that background image you have on your last slide, primarily because it's from years past when none of that growth around your school is there. There's a forest there, right? That, I wish Beausejour had stayed that way. However, that's showing the challenge that your school is having in terms of very fast growth in our area, and the new hut you have is evidence of that. I don't know if you want to speak to that or not.
Yeah, so if I remember correctly, I came into the school the year of COVID. That's how I remember it. So this is my 5th year now. So in that time when I started the school, we had a population, I think it was around 420 kids, if I remember correctly. We are at 474 as of this morning. We have had 20 kids register for school since the start of the school year. So we're seeing change. We look out the door, which once was trees 3 or 4 years ago, is housing. I look out the back, the south end of the school. What was a swamp that we were crossing through not long ago, it's now being filled and getting ready for construction. So all around us, the community's changing. It is growing, and we're seeing that in the population coming in. And it does pose its challenges. We moved into our modular classroom last week, so that was wonderful. The reality is that our MPR, or what was our MPR, is 2 classrooms. What was our computer lab is a classroom. And until last week, our library was a classroom while we waited for the modular classroom to be finished. So the school is a busy place. There's not a whole lot of room, and that's one of the challenges we're facing. With that said, I will say our staff has done a commendable job of accommodating all of these challenges and have really stepped up the plate every time to make sure that we're meeting the kids' needs.
Lars?
Not only has the earlier school seen an increase in population, they're also a little bit of an outlier in some of the exceptional needs they have. They have done an outstanding job in adapting, switching, pivoting to sorting things out and managing that. It has been, no one knows the reason why, but it's like even the additional kids they've had this year were unanticipated kids with some significant needs that they've done a great job of adapting.
So, anyone else, questions? Anyone online have questions? So when I look at your school goal, you're looking at growth, and your growth in reading and writing. And the plan that you've got together looks at me with regard to, you need to put resources in, great. You have a plan for struggling learners, and then you've got a comprehensive and responsive literacy instruction group as to what it is. So is it the 2 of you that is what's the right choice word that I need? Is it the 2 of you that is ensuring that this is going on in our classrooms? And A, are you happy with the growth? I'm assuming then, and if I'm wrong, that you're leading you're helping teachers with what you're expecting of them for that's going on with the instruction in the classroom. I'm making a statement, but I'm really trying to turn it into a question. Who's leading the charge in your school? Is it the 2 of you that are leading the charge with regard to what you're expecting your teachers to do so that we see the growth with the students?
Good question. So In terms of leading the charge, Kayla and I have had a big role in that as we're the educational leaders within the building. In terms of setting the expectations, those expectations are done in consultation with others, but in the end, clear expectations have been written in terms of what we are expecting to see in classrooms. And I cannot sit here and tell you that we're only doing that though, because there is a whole support network that we've been working at putting in place to support teachers and meet those expectations. So we are leading the charge, we're setting the expectations, but with expectations we need to make sure we have the supports in place so that teachers can be successful in actually meeting those expectations. We have for a number of years now and continue to use our program leaders to support us with that. And one of the things we have been looking at in our own school is how do we develop leaders within our within our building to continue with its implementation? Because one of the challenges we have faced is new staff. A school of our size, we have new staff coming in. How do we onboard those staff so they know those expectations? They can also be successful and have those supports. So we're also utilizing our student support services quite frequently to help with supporting our staff in meeting those expectations. As I mentioned, program leaders. We also have our team leaders within our school. So we have actually expanded. So we have provided from the Division 1 team leader role. We've added a secondary team leader role. And those two team leaders, one is focused on reading more so and one's focused on writing more so. And really supporting teachers with those continuums and driving some of those practices in the classroom. So to answer your question, Paul, I'm hoping I'm answering this correctly, but in terms of expectations, we are setting the expectations in consultation with others. Those are clearly laid out for the staff, but we rely on a whole network of people to help support those teachers to be successful.
Am I fair to add that one of the high leverage strategies you use is also your professional learning communities? So you have grade level groups that will meet, and one of the ways that they would account for, hold people accountable, is those smaller groups of teachers work together towards their different grade level goals.
Yes, so we have for a number of years used professional learning communities. It's actually built within the teacher's schedule. So once a cycle, they're meeting for approximately 40-45 minutes. As a grade level group. One of the things I put in place a number of years ago and we've continued to develop is what is the structure to that group. So we actually use a collaborative inquiry model where each group actually lays out a question of inquiry based in what they see the needs of the students are and has to fit within the school plan. So all of those are around literacy in different ways. So I can tell you our French immersion teachers maybe focused on French language acquisition, where our grade 5 teachers, English teachers, might be working on how are we meeting the needs of our struggling learners through small group instruction. So it will vary from group to group so that it provides the ability for teachers to have input on what they're learning and what they're changing in the classroom, but it ties directly back into student learning. They have to collect data, they report to each other and to the entire staff on that. Kayla and I are stepping into those meetings where needed, and they provide us with ongoing updates of where they're at. And that's a means for teachers to kind of work with each other to develop their practices in the classroom, and having some autonomy too on what they're working on based on the needs of their students that they see in front of them.
In 7 months, if I invite you back, what are you going to tell me about success? What does success look for you when in 7 months, at the end of May, what does it look like?
What we want to see for this year is continued growth across the board, which we saw last year. What I really am looking at is how are we doing with those struggling learners? So can we identify those learners and have they made progress? And progress may be measured differently depending on their needs, but are we seeing progress? So do we have clear data that shows that these interventions and these strategies have given us positive results with those struggling learners? I'm also very interested to see where we're at with some of these new strategies we're implementing, so such as UFly. We're collecting clear data around that to see how students grow with that piece. The research already supports the program, but what does that program actually look like in our school? And is there ways to better develop that program for implementation specific to our students? So those are sort of the pieces that we'd be looking at for success, because we've identified struggling learners as an area we want to get better at. The third one I would add is, what does the instruction look like in every classroom? So Kayla and I frequently do informal walkthroughs. We are looking for certain things. One item we've talked to staff about, we're coming in right now to look at how are they triangulating data and collecting data on student learning to inform their own decision making. We are coming in to look at how are they utilizing small group instruction and literacy. So we're coming in and doing informal walkthroughs, chatting with the staff, engaging them in constructive dialogue around that. So through that is an area for us to assess some of that progress. As well, we have formal assessment pieces or evaluation pieces with our new staff to see how they're doing in those areas. And so all of our Track 1 teachers, all of our new teachers, we're formalizing an evaluation process, but one of the things we're looking at is seeing that growth in the classrooms. Are they using comprehensive responsive strategies in the classroom? And then seeing where they're at and providing those supports so that they continue to further their own growth.
Thanks, Mike. Anyone else? Okay, I'm going to give you one more opportunity, Mike and Kayla. You've got 30 seconds to answer this question. You've got 8 trustees. We're about to go into budget session. What are the needs?
30 seconds only.
25 now.
Okay. One of our biggest concerns is space in our building. It's growing, and also having the resources to meet those needs. So we talked about resources for every classroom for literacy. We're looking at those needs ever increasing in terms of our population growing, not just in literacy, but also in numeracy, technology needs grow, et cetera, et cetera. So how do we ensure that we have the resources that our students need to be successful, knowing that our population continues to grow? And that is one of the things we're looking at. So if we look at our needs, part of it is ensuring that funding continues to support those resources and purchasing those resources as our needs grow, and ensuring that the staffing is there to support the growing needs of our population.
I was going to say people, because our population is growing so much and the needs are a lot more than what we had last year. So having people to support the kids and I think is my number one thing that I would wish for. Do I have 10 more seconds?
Well, so on behalf of certainly the board, thank you very much for coming out and presenting this to us. And we'd love to hear from you come the end of the year, certainly about where you are with regard to your data collecting as to where you're going. You're on great track. Thanks very much. We appreciate it.
Thank you, everyone.
We didn't say you could leave. We expect you to be here like the rest of the meeting is to... Go ahead. All right, thank you very much. We're going to continue on. We have minutes, 5.1, minutes from October 17th. Be it resolved that the board adopt the October 17th regular board meeting minutes. I need a mover and a seconder. Moved by Trustee Rowan, seconded by Trustee Dent. Any questions to the minutes? Hearing none, we'll vote. And they passed 7 with 1 abstention. Thank you. 5.2, minutes of October the 30th, our special meeting. Be it resolved the board adopt the October 30th special board meeting minutes. I need a mover and a seconder. Moved by Trustee Boytson, seconded by Trustee Rowan. Any questions to that special meeting? Hearing none, we'll vote. And it passed 8-0. Thank you. Superintendent's report, Kath.
Thank you. You have my report here, and it has a whole bunch of things that are on the go, giving you a bit of an enrollment update of what we're looking at. But I wanted to focus a little bit on our learning framework. Lots of what drives what we do in the school division is nestled here in our learning framework. And you'll have schools who will come and visit and talk to you about this piece of our learning framework. And they're coming here and they're talking to you about their one goal that they're working intensively at. There's also divisional expectations that they have, and there's also provincial expectations that they have. So even though they spend some really intense time talking to you about one goal, they've got a ton of other things that are on their plate. In our framework, we outline, here's what Manitoba Education has as their focal points. Here are the 5 areas that we have as our school division focal points, and we have some really clear expectations in each of those. And it also outlines for schools what some of those supports are. But everything underneath here underpins the work that happens in schools. And we put the work that happens in schools at the top purposefully, because that work that they're doing with the kids in classrooms should be the driving force of everything that we do here. And just kind of linking things back to our learning framework. So that was an important piece for me to just quickly highlight with folks. It helps us stay on track. It's also pretty important to note that the Sunrise Learning Framework is in direct alignment and very tightly aligned with the strategic plan that this board has created. Those things that we're asking schools to do are also the main things and the areas of focus that the school board is looking at. I've included for you the list of Remembrance Day services at our schools that are all happening this Friday. I wanted to highlight for folks that we have a Parent-Teacher Day either on the evening of Thursday the 23rd, during the day on Friday the 24th, and some schools have even spilled over into Monday, December 4th for some of their parent-teacher. So we are kind of down parent-teacher alley right now. Make sure that you're in touch with your school, make sure you're talking with your teachers and checking on how your student or your child may be doing. That's kind of the place we're in right now. Fast and furiously approaching holiday concerts, you have that holiday concert schedule, and it broke my heart a little bit, but Friday, December 22nd is the last day of school before Christmas break, and that is creeping up on us pretty quickly as well. So just kind of letting people know, hang on, we're on the toboggan slide here in the fall. Unless there's questions, that's my report.
Thanks, Kath. Anything for Kathy? Anything online for Kathy? Okay, 6.2 is our draft reporting schedule. Kath, that's again for information for people. Did you want to add anything to that? So trustees, you have that for your information. Our Secretary Treasurer's report, Jody?
Okay, my report's on the screen, and my mic is on, but not the light. Some technical glitches tonight. I just wanted to update everybody on what's going on in the departments. Exciting news. There was interviews today for the finance manager position. So we've been benefiting from utilizing the interim finance manager, Mary Trudeau, over the last month and a bit now, which has been a great help in the finance department, getting everything all set up and ready for whoever the new person is to step in. So we're still planning, the target start date would be about December 4th, depending on the hire. Could be sooner or later, depending on the outcome from today. With that, we've completed the year-end financial statements on the 30th. The board has accepted that and rolled out the first quarter financial statements and working on month-end for October. The rest of the departments, there's a lot of information to be read here, but some highlights. The maintenance department did get a temporary interim, or not temporary, but an interim occupancy permit for Beausejour Early Years. The final one will arrive shortly once all the electrical and mechanical is completed to the requirements to get a permanent occupancy permit, and Dugald did finally receive their full occupancy permit as well. So we have all the schools, all the modular classrooms in use, which is great to see. And then just around the corner in July, in January, the province will be taking applications for additional requests for modular classrooms. With that being said, we've also, I wanted to highlight SCI's Science Lab Renewal Project. The goal was to have it completed by the end of March, but the general contractor had a discussion with the province, and they've identified May 2024 should be the completion date. So the project has started. SCI must love renovations because this is another renovation for them. And the staff, I just want to say kudos to the staff for accommodating for this early start. I think we were aiming to start construction or deconstruction in around Christmas break, but given the delays of the past, what they wanted to do is get in sooner and hopefully get everything in on time to meet that May 2024 deadline. So just want to say again, thanks to SCI for that accommodation for us. Further update for ICT. What I understand is all the desktops have been implemented on the PD days of October 3rd and the 20th. The department has also switched out the laptops. We just have one laptop cart left to switch out, and that'll be done likely this week or next week at ESS. And the other ICT issue that's ongoing is the phone implementation. What we understand is there is a patch for the phone system because it's in its early stages. We have to manually apply this patch. We can't just push it out on Teams. So we have tried the patch out at SCI and our HR department just to see how this patch is working, and the feedback has been positive. So we believe by implementing the patches site by site, it should address the issues that we're having. And that's it.
Thanks, Jody. Any questions for Jody? So I have a question, Jody. You know what? When I heard that SCI lab renewal and SCI is getting more construction, I'm saying, boy, if I'm a teacher at SCI, I'm pretty excited, I guess, when at the end of the day when things come together. But I'm probably also one of, if I'm somebody else that's there saying, like, what the heck, man, or it seems to be under construction all the time. And so I don't know if it's needed. I don't know if the local trustees know, but the SCIs, the ESSs of the world, you know, and what we're, by all this stuff that's going on in their buildings, is there a way that, you know, do we need to say thank you somehow? How do we support them? Just a general thought, if anybody else wants to jump in, Kath or Jody, but it just seems like we're asking people to, during the teaching time, to, they're working around an awful lot of things. Is that a fair comment, or is anybody else want to jump in? Certainly do that. I think that it's great that we're getting this, and all these things are happening to our schools, but it does mean it's a fair bit of disruption for our staff and students. Anyone else? Okay, I'll leave it. Let's move on. We have our monthly enrollment. Kath, so that's information that's there, 8.1, our monthly enrollment. Anybody want to comment on that? So I guess what we heard from Bossier earlier, they told us that they had 20 new students. So Kathy, they were expected 477 and they've got 476.
Yeah, so if you take a look at the report in September 5th, that's what they had sort of on the books. So September 5th would be before kids actually even started school. So when we left in June, we had that many kids registered. And then the enrollment at the end of September, and then they got another 5 from 471 to 476. Some of those students may have been from June to September 5th. So some of that, you know, secretaries being in the school in those last 2 weeks of August may have seen that jump of people moving in at the start of the school year, if that helps.
So from what I'm seeing here is that there's really only one school that's seen an increase from what we were expecting on September the 5th until where you are on October 31st. Everyone else, the predictions that you're making are pretty close, are they not? So the predictions certainly that we're seeing, we see one school, you know what, we see Powerview at 413, that currently is 440, you know what, as to where they are, but for the most part, the projections that we had for September the 5th to October 31st has gone pretty well. Okay, questions or comments from anyone? Okay. School carryover progress, that's for information. Jody, did you want to add anything to that?
No, I think the report kind of explains where everybody's at. We had 3 schools that ended up with a carryover greater than 3%, and it kind of explains what's taken place.
Any comments from anyone? Kathy, the school engagement activities report is something that I know that Trustee Smith was asking for. I know that Trustee Rowland made comment about it earlier. Do you want to comment on the activities? Go ahead, Kath.
Yeah, I absolutely do, and I think this is our first attempt at sharing some of the engaging activities that are happening in schools. And I want to say that I'm sharing this with you, and the principals didn't have time to compare with one another in terms of who was submitting what. And this is their first kick at the cat in terms of what they're sharing. Some principals shared with you, this is what we intend to do for the whole year, and some shared, this is what we've done so far. So from here, this is the beginning of our journey of looking at what's happening in different schools, and the intention is to share this with and amongst one another so that they can learn and grow from each other and say, oh yeah, there's something on your list that we do that I didn't include. I'd love to then see this split into things that are curricular programming versus extracurricular activities and potentially sports. But this is really the first kick at sharing with you what's going on in all of our schools. I also need to say I was aware of a lot of these things, but even I was overwhelmed by the amount of stuff that is happening in our schools. We have teachers and we have staff who are going just out of their way to make sure that they're doing engaging things with kids. So please take the time and run through this list to look at the different things that are on the go, and please give suggestions in terms of how you might want to see this look differently, or what other pieces you might want to have in this report. Because I think this is one of those reports that's going to grow over time and probably make us stronger and better at the things that we do. Questions?
Thanks, Kath. Anyone?
I'm not sure where to start on this. This is a lot of stuff goes on at our schools that I had no idea. I thought I was going to be able to read every word going down, and I gave up. There was just too much happening. And a lot of that, most of that is probably due to the volunteer of the staff. That's incredible. I look forward to the second version of this and how you break it out to extracurricular versus curricular versus whatever. Wow. Great stuff. Thanks.
Anyone else? Trustee Boyton?
I know that more things happen in our schools. For example, Hazel Ridge. I mean, we were there on a school tour, so we saw the things that are going on. So I'm sure that their next report is going to look very different because now they know what we're looking for. You know, so a new principal there, so she doesn't really know what the expectation is. But I'm sure their list is, so the list is probably going to be even longer the next time. But yeah, great things are happening in our schools.
So tomorrow we have an operational check-in that I have once a month with my principal group, and that will be the first time that they'll get a chance to see each other's submissions. And I feel like there'll be a bit of a buzz in the room about, okay, tell me more about this, what's that thing, and oh, I should have included. I think that that will happen once they look at each other's information.
And I don't think that we ever wanted to be about one school outdoing the other school. That wasn't what Trustee Smith was certainly brought forward at all. So let's make sure that that's clear. I think that what Trustee Smith was asking, and I think Trustee Harris talked about the fact is that, again, some of our trustees really just don't know what some of the things that are going on, and I'm glad that people are celebrating what is going on because it is the hard work of our staff and celebrating about some of the different things that they're going ahead and doing. So until you really go ahead and take a look at it, you know, kudos to the work that's being done certainly by our staff, and what it is for, it's for the engagement of our kids. And you know what, that's really good to see. And again, if I'm from one of the other schools and go, what do you got over there? And what do you got over there? I think that's great. And let's beg, borrow, and support each other throughout that. So please tell that to your staff. It certainly wasn't, and I agree with you, Lorraine, is that some people are saying, I should have put this in, and the board didn't get to see me where this is. And you know what, I think that it's right, Kath. You know what, when you do send us another list now that'll come out, someone will be saying, hey, can we get another list because you know what, we didn't put that in. So that's probably going to happen, and hopefully as you're watching, it wasn't really about where one or the other, but it is really about doing some sharing, and let's get some learning on what's going on from others. So thanks very much for doing that. Anyone else? Anyone else online want to comment? Okay, so we're going to go to 8.4. Be it resolved that the board approve in principle the École Parview School grade 11 and 12 basketball tournament of Vida, Manitoba on December 1st and 2nd, subject to superintendent approval. Need a mover and a seconder. Moved by trustee Dent, seconded by trustee Boydson. Questions? Hearing none, we'll vote. I guess it passed. Okay, there, passed 8-0. Thank you. 8.5, be it resolved the board approve in principle the École Edward Schreier School Grade 7 ski trip to Assisipi Resort in Russell, January 28th to 30th, subject to the superintendent's final approval. Need a mover and a seconder. Moved by trustee Harris, seconded by trustee Rowan. Any questions? Hearing none, we'll vote. Passed 8-0. Thank you. Girls hockey, so 8.6? No. 8.5? No, 8.6. I got it, 8.6, right? Be it resolved that the board approve in principle the Edward Shire School grade 9 and 12 girls high school hockey team to Wick Fest. Did I say that right? Wick Fest hockey tournament in Surrey, BC, February 1st to 5th, subject to superintendent's approval. Anybody online want to go ahead and motion that?
Sure, I will.
Motion by trustee Reed, seconded by trustee Rowan. Thank you. Any comments? Hearing none, we'll vote. It passed 8-0. Thank you. We have, be it resolved that the board approve in principle the Edward Schreier grade 9 to 12 ski trip to Assisipi Resort, March 12th to 14th, 2024, it should say. It says 2023, 2024, subject to superintendent's approval. Moved by trustee Harris, seconded by trustee Dent. Any questions to this? Hearing none, we'll vote. Passed 8-0. Thank you. 8 Okay, that's it then. Award recommendation of the grass cutting service. So I'm going to put this on the floor. Be it resolved that the proposal 17-23 gas cutting service be awarded to the lowest compliant bidders for a 5-year period, April 1st, 24 through to October 31st, 28, with the option to renew for 2 additional years. Green Oak Yard Care, Enola, École Dugald, Whitemouth and Edward Schreier, Beausier Early Years, Gillis, Sunrise Business Center, Sunrise Education Center, Hooked on Grass, Oak Bank Elementary, Springfield Middle School, SCI, Oak Bank, Buskarash, Hazel Ridge. Legal Grass, École Parview School, Empower, Centennial, and Mactabani. So I need a mover and a seconder to get on the move by trustee Boydson, seconded by trustee Rowan. Any comment to this? Question? Go ahead, trustee Harris.
The term of 5 years plus 2 years, that's standard practice for this over the years?
Yeah, between both our grass cutting and snow clearing, we've done the option to extend by 2 years. Correct.
Any other questions? Okay, hearing none, we'll vote. And it passed 8-0. Thank you. 8.9, bus removal, 5-year average. I'm going to turn it over to you, Jody.
Thank you. I think at the last board meeting, we had the presentation by our transportation manager, Jason Ziprick, and he noted that we've had a number of buses that have been retired or removed from our fleet. And the question was, well, what does that look like in the last 5 years? So in the report, it gave a summary based on what we were looking at. This year in 2023, we've had now 5 route buses removed. In the past, we've had spare buses that we've removed, and I wanted to point out that a route bus is the one that's on the regular daily route, picking up students, and a spare bus is often used when we're doing regular maintenance. It's usually one with high mileage already, and we just put it back in the fleet when we need to utilize a spare while the regular one is in for maintenance. So what we noticed this year, and I just received an update, we have actually 6 route buses that have been removed, one as of today. It has a blown motor. It was 10 years old. So we're finding that in the most recent years we've had, it's creeping up, and this time it's not a spare. It's more frequent with the route buses. But if anybody has questions, feel free.
So at the end of the day, basically what I'm hearing is that we probably need to be looking at getting additional buses because our fleet is in distress. So that's obviously then, as we come through it, is that looking at when we come to budget, it's about us looking at our fleet needs some attention. Fair enough?
Perfect. Yeah, that's the observation. At one point in time, I did the analysis to see how many were coming out and how many were going in, and we were almost like a break even up until this year. We've tipped the scale now. So that is something that in my role is to bring this to your attention. So.
Thanks, Jody. Any questions for Jody? T. Harris?
More a comment. I think this shows when we did our budget last time that we had a tough time agreeing to get 2 buses, but based on the amount of money that we were expecting from the province and so on, I'm hopeful that the new government, that they increase our funding exponentially and that we're able to get back on track. This clearly shows we need to be getting more than 2 buses a year. We need to be asking for 4 or 5. Not asking. We need to be getting 4 or 5 or more just to keep the fleet in running order. And we keep stressing how important busing is in this division because of our size. And this report just shows that. Thank you.
Anyone else? Trustee Boyson?
Just that this is no surprise to us because we knew this was coming based on last year's, budget conversations. So, yeah, I guess we have to really move forward this year.
Let's start talking about buses, right? Yeah. Right. Anyone online want to comment? Okay, thank you. So 8.10 is our audit highlighter, and Jody, I'm going to jump in here, and this is certainly for the public as well, but our audit highlighter was pretty simple. The guy, Wayne was his name? Wayne what? Wayne Lusk. He spoke to us, and really I wanted to hear 3 probably words out of his mouth. We had a clean bill of health on our audit. We came out with a clean audit. There was lots of other words that he used, but for the most part, for my liking, and I think that for everyone else, is that we're in pretty good shape. Is that a fair comment from the trustees from what we heard? Jody, is that a fair comment? Yeah, so kudos, Jody, to you and your department for getting that clean audit as to where we are. And did you want to add anything else?
I'll just jump in and say thank you to the finance team. Much like Lorraine said earlier in this meeting, the staff did a wonderful job supporting me, relating information to the auditor. So kudos to the whole finance staff working on this.
Thanks. We're going to move on to 8.11, Reading Recovery Report. Kath?
Yes, I just wanted to bring this is one of our annual reports. It was earlier on our scheduled report, but we do rely on someone else providing us the data, so we get that back, and I'm bringing it at our soonest possible convenience. It's important to note that reading recovery is a prescribed intervention for a really specific group of students at grade 1, and it is not a replacement for strong literacy teaching. It is not a replacement for teaching reading and writing to all students in our classrooms. And I think that's always our struggle, is how do we best support all of the readers in our system? And this is a very prescribed, program that we are currently using. It is always under review, and we are always looking at things that might do a better job of meeting more students. So I do need to say that that's always something that we want to look at. You have data here in terms of which schools have reading recovery, how many students were in the program, and what our rate was, how often they met, how many of them accelerated, who moved away from the division. And we also have a population of students who are identified as moving from grade 1 to grade 2 and continuing in the program in grade 2, because there is still some work that can be done with them to help with their reading. It is a snapshot of what's going on with reading recovery in our school division.
So I'm not going to let you get away with it that easy. Are you happy with what's going on? Lars or Kathy, you can come back. Are you happy, or is it something that, yeah?
No, I think, and I alluded to that, that's something that we always want to be looking at and saying, are we getting the best bang for our buck? Is this something that we want to be doing, or do we want to be looking at something different? And there are a group of many folks who are doing exactly that right now. And I would liken it to, we want to make sure that we keep all of the tools we have in place until we come up with something that we can replace it with, because we're not going to take an intervention away without having the right piece that we can replace something with. Fair?
Yeah, totally fair. Certainly, I think you hit the nail on the head. Are we getting the bang for our buck for going ahead and doing that and trying to meet the children's needs in the best way we can? And as of right now, until there's something better, reading recovery is there. Okay. Questions from anyone? Trustee Boyson?
This program is near and dear to my heart because it's what got my son through school and got his university degree. He struggled in grade 1, and I say it's a saving grace. And so because of that, I'm concerned about the 33 students that didn't qualify. And I know that that was the time that I remember thinking, I am so happy that he is where he is, and they only could choose 10. He was one of those 10, and I was so thankful he wasn't number 11 because he wouldn't have qualified for this program. And it's like, how do we help those other 33 that could use that? And I know that at the time of the program, I went and sat with the reading recovery teacher, and she showed me skills that I could do at home. And I just wonder if we couldn't have something to offer the 33 kids that would benefit, give those parents an opportunity to come to the office one day and learn some skills to help their kids. Because if you're worried about it and you can learn some ways to help them, I mean, that would help at home too. I felt bad for Devin because he would, be at school all day, then we'd sit together at night for about half an hour, and it's like he hated school to begin with, so it was just like another, like, what, I have to do this? But that is what got him through. So is there any way that we could do that for those kids that don't qualify? Could we offer something?
So I think that's exactly what we want. I mean, that's exactly what we want to do, is we want to make sure that we have all of our teachers that are excellent teachers of reading, and that we're matching the right tools and the right approach and the right thing for each of our learners. And we'll have students like your son who may have benefited from something like that, but then we sometimes have students who we put into a prescriptive program and it's not going to benefit them, but because we're in a prescriptive program, we need to follow the rules of the prescriptive program, and that's closing the door on someone else. So I think what we're talking about, and I'm kind of looking for head nods from Trevor and Lars to make sure I'm on track with what the conversations are. We're looking to expand the toolkit and say, what are more of those tools that help us to meet those kids at all levels and have all of our students reading at grade level through a number of different interventions that we might have in place. Is that fair? Okay.
Anyone else? Trustee Harris?
I had a two-parter, but Trustee Boyson took my first part, so that's fine. That 33 out of that we couldn't support, and we are supporting 88, that's a significant number, and it's unfortunate that we can't. So the other part is, how do these numbers compare to pre-COVID, and did COVID have an impact on the reading recovery needs in the division?
I would like to go and actually grab some of those COVID numbers and be able to come back with the data from that. My instinctive or my gut response to it would be, because reading recovery is a one-on-one instruction program, we still did reading recovery. We did it 6 feet apart, and we did it masked, and we still had, students coming. Some of the attendance might have been the issue in terms of not getting as many weeks of, or the number of lessons because of shifting or attendance or not attending and those kinds of things. But I'd love to be able to grab that and see what the numbers actually are.
I think down the road, just thinking out loud, maybe kind of related to where my question was leading, is I think we're going to see reports years from now on what was the effect of COVID and learning and the lack of in-person one-on-one training. I hope we see some stats on that going long term. And it's going to take a while, I think, for people to determine what those numbers are and what effect COVID had on us. And that's kind of where I was leading with this. I love the idea of reading recovery at grade 1. That's where we're targeting. Thank you.
That question comes up a lot about the effect of our response to COVID, and it'll be a long time before there's a good, accurate guess, and there's probably 100 reasons why something is happening. That comes up often. What may have happened that's showing itself in a lot of places is just, did that result in an absence of socialization skills or language that kids had exposed to at a period of time when it's going to be really hard to tell exactly. It has to be balanced with what did we see happening anyways prior to COVID. So lots of these things aren't new. We've been recognizing that, a prescribed program, we knew that before, that we're missing a piece. And we've been looking at this for quite a while. That was pre-COVID. So certainly I'm assuming our response to COVID has exacerbated some things, but it's not like it has created a new problem in this regard.
Yeah, and I don't expect, I think some people will be doing research articles on this, but you could put the numbers to be whatever you want, right? So you got to flip a coin sometimes. Hopefully they get some accurate numbers and can learn from it and go forward.
I guess the last piece I would like to say on it is that one of the strengths of the people in our division, because this is the division that I know, but I also can compare to others, is we're always wanting to look at research-driven and data-driven interventions or supports. And so we're not going to just sit in one place and say, well, we've always just done this and it's work. We are looking at what is the research saying and what are we wanting to look at and how might we need to evolve to meet those changing needs of kids. And I guess that's the piece that, we have a really good team of people who are looking at what's out there, what's the research saying, and what should we be doing instead of maybe just relying on that gut check. So, okay.
No, well said, Kath. Thank you. 8.12 is future discussion items, learning session lists, and I want to remind our board that in 2019 we put together a list of, as you saw the list here, of 24, 25 items, and we went through and looked at a number of items and spent some time on them. Does anybody want to comment? I'm going to open it up to the floor. Anybody want to comment on some of the items that we've looked at and that we've taken off our list? I'll open it up to the floor to anybody. Trustee Boyton?
Based on the 2019-20 list, I kind of disregarded it because we have an updated list. So based on the 22-23 list, I think we talked about facilities, that we are doing that, and we're going to continue doing that. It's probably going to be an ongoing thing that will never come off the list. And we did have a number of items that we will remove. Strategic planning, we've addressed that. It was nice to see that a number of items that we had on our list are going to come off it, and we're ready, I guess, to move forward with some new items and complete the list maybe at the next meeting.
Anyone else want to jump in? Trustee Harris?
And I would add to that the board has worked very well the last year and is able to get some of these items off the list, and and it's great that we have and that we can add more items to the list going forward. There's always stuff that we can learn as a board and going forward.
I think that as we move forward, I think Trustee Dent, you mentioned it, that the Sunrise Education Foundation, we've got a committee and we're moving forward towards that. And that's, Jody, the work that you're doing. But again, it's been something that's been sitting on us for a little while, but we're moving forward with it. We've got a strategic plan. Kathy's talked about it when Bose earlier has tied into the work that they're doing in literacy and numeracy, and tying it into, sorry, not numeracy, but literacy and writing. With regard to our strategic plan, it's there. Always a good thing. I think Trustee Rowan, you talked a little bit about reminding ourselves that we're not that far away from another election and making sure where do we stand with SEO roles and responsibilities. You know what, again, we have a strat plan that talks about how we're engaging with our communities, and that's work that we're going ahead and doing. We decided as a group that when the 15th, people are going to come back with regard to some of their priorities, and we're going to put this something on one of our front burners for us to go ahead and take a look at what should be the next 5 areas that we should go ahead and focus on. So kudos to the work that people have done. Obviously the work's not finished and there's lots to do, but good work on it. Anybody want to add anything to this? Okay, thank you for that. The next one, Region 3 meeting. So at MSBA, we have at the AGM, the Region 3 is going to meet for about an hour and a half. There is some information that I sent out to you, and if there's anything that is on any topic that might be something that we want to go ahead and talk about, let's get it together. And maybe what I'll ask is why don't I give you to Wednesday the 15th as well? So if there's anything that that we want to go ahead and share, a reminder, we will break up with the 8 other school divisions at MSBA and start talking. And I think Trustee Boytson, one of the things that you talked about is, okay, so what's potential about a budgeting process and learn from some of the other school divisions. And it's something for us to just beg, borrow, and steal from other school divisions and find out what they're doing. So if there's topics, let's get that done for the 15th as well. Get it into me, and then I'll compile it out and get it out to everybody. And I'll work with Stacy that we'll get it out on time, right, Stace? Perfect. Anybody want to add anything to that, Region 3? Okay. So let's move to 814 Policy Committee. Trustee Nicol, I'm going to give you the floor with regard to the Policy Committee.
All right, the next meeting is coming up on Thursday on the 9th. The agenda is already on the ESP, so if anybody wants to look to see what we're going to be talking about and want to give any ideas to the committee, let me know before Thursday at 5:30.
Don, I see that we've got the policy meeting minutes that are there. Is there anything that you want to highlight about the minutes? The minutes are there for the trustees. Anything you want to highlight about them?
No.
Thanks, Don. And then the Finance Committee, Chair Boytson, anything update from the Finance Committee, please?
Our meeting was on November the 2nd. We had a big package. The financial packages that were included were for as of July 31st package, as of August 31st package, and as of September 30th package. So being that it was a heavy meeting, we did focus mostly on the September 30th package because July and August are pretty light anyways. Packages were sent, and Jody provided a really detailed commentary and answered many questions, so thanks, Jody, for your patience. Everything went well, and the packages are there for everyone to see.
Well, thanks. The minutes are there. Is there any comments or questions from trustees with regard to the minutes for Trustee Boytson? Okay, Trustee Boytson, I think you have no questions, so great job. We do have a check register that we need to get through for September, so be it resolved that the board receive the September 2023 check register. Total amount of checks issued at $2,262,938.18, reviewed on November 2nd by the Finance Committee for information as submitted. Moved by Trustee Boytson, seconded by Trustee Dent. Any questions? Hearing none, we'll vote.
Which number?
This is, Russ, this is 8.18, the check register. And we're voting now, Russ.
Okay.
And it passed 8-0, thank you. And then you heard that the Education Foundation Committee has met once. There was a meeting that we're planning. It might get moved, the November 8th meeting, correct? Because we are looking for some information for the next time. What we're doing is we're looking for information from other foundations, from other school divisions that have foundations. So you're working on that and going to go ahead and look for a schedule. But we did meet, and so let's be clear on that. The five of us, Trustee Dent, Trustee Boyton, and myself, met with Trustee Nickel. Oh, so sorry, it's Trustee Dent, Trustee myself, and Trustee Nickel met with Kathy and Jody with regard to the Education Foundation Committee. There's a little bit of work to be done, certainly, with it. Again, we're not trying to reinvent everything, but we will bring everything forward to the board to get everything approved by the board. So the committee is going to do the work and look at policies and procedures, and the idea is really taking a look at some of the other foundations and borrow some of their policies and procedures. But the committee cannot do anything without getting it approved by the board. Fair enough? Trustee Dent, Trustee Nickel, did I miss anything? Did you want to add anything to that?
Yeah. Were you clear that there is no meeting tomorrow?
Yes, there's no meeting tomorrow.
I was just going to say, I think you encapsulated what we talked about, so.
No, but I'll probably be sending out a meeting request tomorrow, just looking at with our MSBA conference. There was some time available, but we're attending the conference then, so we'll be looking at later in November.
Okay, thanks, Jody. Professional development, MSBA goes November 23rd and 24th. Stace, we're all organized with people. Okay, thank you. There's been some other workshops there that you'll see on 9.2, 9.3. There's a divisional financial summary report for information. It's 10.1. Does anybody have any questions around the divisional financial summary report? Okay, hearing none. Jody, did you want to add anything to that? It's there for us?
I think it's there for you all to read. Of course, in the early stages of building the forecast and things like that. So I would anticipate that things will change the next time as we figure out where people are landing in positions that we're fulfilling and things like that. We've also identified departments are spending in the range anywhere from the 10 to 25%. So for the first quarter, it's business as usual right now.
Thank you. Questions?
Hi, Paul.
Go ahead, Diane.
I was just looking at the reserves balance, and I was just wondering, it looks like, $1,000 has gone to land acquisition reserve, and I was just wondering what that was encompassing.
So I take it the question was, like what the purpose of the land acquisition reserve or the increase? Yeah, so it's the interest on the reserve that we're making. The difference from June to September is the interest.
And do we not have interest on the other accounts then? Like, that one seemed more, I guess there was a little bit in ICT, I'm sorry. And the bus reserve doesn't get very much.
Correct. There is interest applied to all of them, but because of the balance, it's based on a percentage, so some will get more based on the balance of the account at the end of the month.
Is that okay, Diane?
Yeah, that looks actually pretty good. returns on our money lately.
Thank you. No board's correspondence. We have nice to know information, so there's a number of them. One of them talks about a new superintendent in the Clipper, Mr. Reed, so you're in the press, there you go, along with Ace Burpee, so that's right next, there you go, right beside him. It is great to see, again, I think that when we just talked about that list of that inventory of things, when you talk about high school hockey going, and when you talk about SCI coaches that are instilling passion, and we got girls high school hockey team. This is the first time that I've seen a girls high school. They're going to BC. That's right. That's people in our buildings putting in time to work with these kids, and so kudos. It's like the SCI football team that they just didn't all of a sudden show up one day and win a banner. And it's not about winning banners, but it's about the time that people are putting in. So kudos to all that staff that are doing stuff for us. We have upcoming meetings November 21st and December the 5th. Questions from the public. Jody, do we have any questions from the public?
I'll just
14.1.
double check. When I checked about 10 minutes ago, there was nothing, but I'll confirm. Yeah, there is nothing.
So we do not have to move into in-camera, but we do have a motion coming from in-camera, and our motion is, be it resolved that the board offer the position of the finance manager effective as soon as can be arranged, as recommended by the superintendent, pending positive reference checks. That's what our motion is. I need a mover and a seconder. Moved by Trustee Boyton, seconded by Trustee Rowan. Any comments to that motion? Okay, hearing none.
Again, what number is this?
It's 17.1, Russ. It's about the finance manager position.
I found it.
Thanks, Russ. Any questions before we vote? Okay, hearing none, let's vote. It passed 8-0, thank you. I think we're adjourned. I think that, our 4 or 5 staff that have been here, it's been a long day, it's been a long couple of days for you. Thank you for the work that you've done, certainly in the past 48 hours. It's certainly been a lot of work on you. We appreciate it. Everybody drive home and be safe tonight, and let's be adjourned. To the people that are online. We do? Oh. Well, yeah, that's right. But we're going to adjourn our meeting. Just a reminder, people online, just stay online with us. We're adjourned. Thank you.